They tried to throw me out of my own house, but I opened the safe in front of everyone. The sun was barely up when I started my morning routine. At 70 years old, I moved slower than I once did, but I still loved keeping my home neat. This house wasn't just walls and a roof. It was the life my late husband and I built together. Every picture on the wall, every creak in the floorboards carried a memory. I made myself a small breakfast, humming softly as I set the kettle to boil. It was a peaceful morning, until the sound of the front door slamming broke the silence. It was my son, Daniel, and his wife, Claire. They didn't bother to greet me. Claire marched straight into the living room, heels clicking sharply against the wooden floor, while Daniel trailed behind with that guilty, half-ashamed look he often wore when she was about to start something. "Still the same old curtains," Claire muttered, wrinkling her nose as she glanced around. "This place looks like it's stuck in the last century." I forced a small smile. "It's cozy. Your father and I loved it this way." Claire laughed under her breath. "Cozy? More like outdated. Daniel and I were just saying the other night. This house would look so much better if we redid everything. New floors, modern furniture, maybe even an open kitchen." Her words stung more than I wanted to admit. This wasn't just a house. It was my house. My husband's pride. Our safe haven. Daniel shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. He didn't defend me. Instead, he added softly, "Mom, you don't really need all this space anymore." My heart sank. I could feel where this was going, but I stayed quiet. I poured myself tea, my hands trembling slightly. They didn't notice. Or maybe they didn't care. Claire crossed her arms and smirked. "Honestly, I don't understand why you're clinging to this place. Wouldn't it be better if we just took over? You'd be more comfortable in a smaller place. Less to clean, less to worry about. Don't you think?" Her tone was sweet, but her eyes were sharp, calculating. I looked at my son, hoping to find even a flicker of protection, of loyalty. But he avoided my gaze. The room that once held so much warmth suddenly felt cold. In that moment, I realized something. My own family wasn't here to visit me. They were here for the house. And it was only the beginning. 2 days later, Daniel and Claire insisted on taking me to a family dinner. At first, I thought it was a chance to ease the tension after their little visit. Maybe they regretted their words. Maybe my son had finally gathered the courage to stand up for me. But deep down I had a sinking feeling. We went to a large restaurant downtown, the kind Claire liked. Flashy chandeliers, overpriced meals, and waiters in white gloves. Around the long polished table sat relatives from both sides. Cousins, aunts, even some family friends. Everyone was cheerful, talking, laughing, clinking glasses. For a while I stayed quiet, listening, smiling politely when someone asked how I was. I didn't want to bring my worries into this gathering. But Claire, she had other plans. She leaned back in her chair, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. She said with a little laugh, "it's such a shame. Daniel and I could do so much with Mom's house, but she just won't let go of it." The table went silent for a moment. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Someone chuckled awkwardly. "Claire, that's her home." Claire waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, come on. She doesn't really need it. 3 bedrooms. 2 living rooms. For just one old woman. Meanwhile, Daniel and I are cramped in an apartment. It's just not fair." Heat rose to my cheeks. I could feel every pair of eyes on me. Some filled with pity, others with quiet judgment. I turned to my son, praying he would say something, anything, to stop this humiliation. But Daniel only shifted in his seat, cleared his throat and muttered, "Well, she has been living there alone for a long time." A murmur went through the table. My heart dropped like a stone. Claire smirked, emboldened by his silence. "Exactly. If she cared about her family, she'd hand it over. Let us make it a real home. Right now it's just wasted space." My chest tightened. My own daughter-in-law was painting me as selfish, greedy, all in front of people who once respected me. I placed my fork down gently, trying to steady my trembling hands. I wanted to speak to defend myself, but the words stuck in my throat. It wasn't just dinner anymore. It was a trial, and I was the one being judged. The laughter around the table felt colder now. I forced a weak smile, but inside I was breaking. That night, after the humiliating dinner, I couldn't sleep. I sat by my window, watching the quiet streetlights flicker outside, asking myself over and over, how did I become the villain in my own family's eyes? I thought the storm would pass. That maybe, after letting Claire vent, they'd forget about it. But the very next morning Daniel and Claire showed up again, this time with papers in hand. Claire didn't waste a second. She marched straight into the living room, slapped the documents onto the coffee table, and said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "It's simple really. Just sign these, and everything will be easier for all of us." I looked down. Property transfer papers. They wanted me to sign my house away. My throat tightened. "What is this?" Daniel avoided my eyes. "Mom, we've talked about this. You don't need such a big house. We'll move in, take care of it. You can stay with Aunt Linda or we'll find you a smaller place." A smaller place. My voice cracked. "This is my home, Daniel. Your father and I built it with our own hands." Claire rolled her eyes. "Exactly. That was decades ago. Times change. Look at it, old furniture, creaky floors. It's practically falling apart. Daniel and I could renovate it, make it modern, bring life back into it. But we can't do that unless you stop holding on." I felt like someone had struck me. She spoke as if I were some burden clinging to scraps of the past. My son sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Mom, please. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Just sign it. It'll be easier for everyone." Easier for everyone. No, easier for them. I pushed the papers back toward them. My hands shook, but my voice was steady. "No, I won't sign. This house is mine. It will remain mine until the day I choose otherwise." Claire let out a sharp laugh. "You're being selfish. We're offering you comfort, security. And you're throwing it away because of stubbornness." Her words cut deep, but I held my ground. Daniel finally looked at me. His eyes cold in a way I had never seen before. "If you won't sign willingly, Mom, then maybe you should start packing. We'll move in next month." The air left my lungs. My own son, the boy I had raised, fed, loved, was threatening to throw me out of my own house. I stood frozen in place, the papers lying between us like a blade. And in that moment, one truth settled heavily in my chest. This wasn't about family anymore. It was about power. And they thought I had none. The house was quiet after they left, but my chest was not. It burned with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. I thought maybe, just maybe, Daniel would come back alone to apologize. To tell me it was Claire's idea, not his. But 2 days later the doorbell rang again. This time Daniel stood at the doorway without Claire. His face was tight, his jaw clenched. For a moment hope flickered in me until he spoke. "Mom," he said flatly, "I've already spoken to real estate agents. They'll come by next week to take pictures of the house." My knees nearly gave out beneath me. "Pictures? Daniel, how dare you? This isn't yours to sell." He didn't flinch. "It's for the best. Claire and I have plans. We can't waste time waiting for you to see reason. You'll be happier somewhere smaller, I promise." "Promise?" My voice shook. "You promised me as a boy that you'd always look after me. And now you're stealing the roof over my head." Daniel's eyes flickered with something, guilt, regret. But it vanished as quickly as it came. He shoved his hands in his pockets. "It's not stealing if it's for the family." Those words cut me deeper than any knife could. For the family. Whose family? Not mine. Not the one your father and I built with sweat and sacrifice. I turned away, clutching the wall for support. My breaths came shallow, my body trembling. The pictures on the mantel, of birthdays, graduations, weddings, blurred through my tears. As if on cue, Claire's voice floated from the car outside. Daniel, did you tell her about the new kitchen? I want marble counters this time. I staggered. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just betrayal. This was mockery. Neighbors passing by waved cheerfully at them, clueless to the storm tearing through my chest. And I knew soon gossip would spread. Whispers about the old woman who couldn't even keep her son on her side. I closed the door slowly, the click of the lock echoing like finality. For the first time, I felt truly alone in the home I had once believed was unshakable. But somewhere deep inside that hollow ache, a spark lit. They thought I had no power. They thought I had nothing left but weakness. They were wrong. That night I sat alone in the living room. The same room where Daniel had once played with his toy cars on the rug. The same room where my husband and I had danced, barefoot, when the radio played our favorite song. Now it felt like a battlefield. Only the enemy was my own blood. I lit a single lamp. Its warm glow touched the frames on the mantelpiece. My eyes landed on one photo in particular. My husband, smiling. His arm wrapped around me the day we first moved into the house. We were younger then, filled with hope and energy. He had built so much of this home with his own hands. Every nail, every tile carried his devotion. And I could almost hear his voice again. "Promise me," he had whispered years ago, when his health began to fade. "Promise me you'll keep the house safe, no matter what. Don't let anyone take it from you. This is ours. This is yours." Back then, I didn't understand why he said it with such urgency. But now I did. I wiped my tears and stood. My steps led me down the hallway, into the study we had once shared. I hadn't touched much in there since his passing. It still smelled faintly of his cologne and old books. In the corner, beneath a faded rug, was a small square of wood that looked different from the rest of the floor. My heart beat faster as I bent down, pulling the rug aside. With trembling fingers, I pressed on the hidden notch, just as he had shown me once long ago. Blick. A small panel lifted. And there it was, the safe. Black, sturdy, unyielding. I knelt down, running my hand across the cold metal. Around my neck hung a thin chain with a tiny key. I had worn it for years, never thinking much of it, until now. I slipped the key into the lock. The safe opened with a soft groan, as though it had been waiting all this time. Inside lay neat folders of documents, property deeds, bank savings, insurance papers. And at the very top, a letter with my husband's handwriting. My throat closed. I lifted it carefully, the paper fragile with age. "My love," it began. "If you are reading this, it means the time has come for you to stand strong. Do not let anyone make you small. This house belongs to you. And so does your dignity. If they try to take it away, show them this. Show them that you are not alone. I am with you always." Tears blurred the ink, but I could still read every word. I pressed the letter to my chest and whispered into the silence. "I'll keep your promise. I won't let them win." For the first time in weeks, I felt something stirring inside me. Not despair. Not weakness. Strength. They thought they could break me. They thought I was powerless. But they had forgotten one thing. This house was built on love, sacrifice, and trust. And I would defend it, even if it meant facing them all at once. The following weekend I received a call. It wasn't Daniel. It was Claire. Her tone was sweet, almost rehearsed. "We're inviting the whole family over, Mother. Just a little meeting to clear things up. You'll come, won't you?" Her words were polite, but her meaning was sharp as glass. They weren't asking. They were summoning me. By evening, my house was buzzing with voices. Relatives filled the living room. Aunts, cousins, even distant family friends. Some looked curious, others uneasy. I could tell they all knew why they were here. Daniel stood tall near the window, his arms crossed. Claire hovered beside him, all smiles, playing the gracious hostess. A tray of snacks sat untouched on the table, but the real feast was the drama they had planned. When I entered the room, conversations faltered. The air grew thick, expectant. "Mom," Daniel began, his voice steady but cold. "We wanted everyone here so they could understand the situation. It's not fair for you to keep such a big house when Claire and I are starting a family. We deserve this place. Everyone agrees, don't they? Murmurs rippled through the room. Some relatives nodded uncomfortably. Others avoided my eyes. Claire stepped forward, her hand resting on Daniel's arm like she was steadying him. "We're not villains here," she said, her voice dripping with false humility. "We just want what's best for the family." But she refuses to listen. A heavy silence followed. The weight of their accusation pressed on me, but I kept my face calm. I clasped my hands in front of me, the small key around my neck hidden beneath my blouse. I had spent nights crying, but not anymore. Tonight I would not weep. Tonight I would not bow my head. One of the cousins whispered, "Maybe it's time. She's getting old. Wouldn't it be easier?" The word stung, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I lifted my chin. "If you all want the truth," I said softly, "then follow me." The room hushed. Daniel frowned. Claire's smirk faltered. Without another word, I turned and walked toward the study. My steps were slow, deliberate, but inside my heart pounded like a drum. I could hear their footsteps behind me, the shuffle of shoes, the nervous coughs, the curious whispers. This wasn't just a meeting anymore. It was a trial, and I was ready to deliver the verdict. The study was smaller than the living room, but somehow the air felt heavier as everyone crowded inside. The walls, lined with old books and framed photographs, seemed to close in around us. Daniel leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, trying to look in control. Claire perched proudly on a chair, her legs crossed, her lips curved in a triumphant smile. "Mother," she said, her voice carrying a false gentleness, "you don't need to drag everyone around the house. Just sign the papers, and this will all be over." I didn't respond. Instead, I walked toward the center of the room. My steps were steady, though my heart hammered inside my chest. From the corner of my eye, I saw some of the younger relatives whispering, confused. They didn't understand why I had brought them here. Claire's patience snapped. "Honestly, look at you," she said, her voice rising. "Still clinging to dusty books and cracked floors. You should be grateful we're even willing to take care of this place. You're too old to manage it." Gasps fluttered through the room. Daniel straightened. "Claire," he muttered, but she waved him off. "No, Daniel. Let's be honest. Your mother is being selfish. She doesn't care about our future, our children. She just wants to sit here in her little museum until it falls apart." Her words hit me like stones. But instead of crumbling, I felt something shift inside me. I turned slowly, meeting her gaze. My voice was calm. "Are you finished?" Claire smirked. "Why? Do you finally agree with us?" Daniel's eyes were colder now. He took a step forward, his tone sharper than ever. "Mom, this isn't really yours anymore. You just live here because we let you." The room went silent. I heard the collective gasp of relatives, the shuffle of feet, the disbelief hanging in the air. That one sentence, from my own son, cut deeper than anything before. But instead of answering, I reached up and touched the small key that rested beneath my blouse. For a moment I closed my eyes, steadying my breath. When I opened them again, I felt no fear. "Follow me," I said quietly. And before they could question me, I knelt down, reached for the rug in the corner, and pulled it aside. The first whispers of confusion spread through the crowd as I pressed my hand against the wooden floor, searching for the notch my husband had shown me so long ago. Blick. The sound was small, but it echoed like thunder. The mockery stopped. Every eye in the room was now fixed on me. The click of the hidden panel sent a ripple of silence through the room. Relatives craned their necks. Some whispered. Others leaned forward as if afraid to blink. Daniel's brows furrowed. "Mom, what are you doing?" I didn't answer. With steady hands, I lifted the small wooden panel from the floor, revealing the dark steel of the safe beneath. Claire let out a laugh, sharp and mocking. "A safe? Really? What do you think this is, some kind of treasure hunt?" But her laugh faded when she saw the chain around my neck. Slowly, deliberately, I pulled out the small key. My fingers trembled. not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. For years, this secret had slept quietly beneath my feet. Tonight it would finally speak. The key slid into the lock. Click. The safe groaned open. Gasps filled the room as I reached inside. Neatly stacked folders, sealed envelopes, legal documents, and, resting on top, a leather-bound letter that bore my late husband's handwriting. I placed the folders on the desk, my voice steady though my heart raced. You all say this house isn't mine, that I only live here because I've been allowed to. But let me show you the truth. I held up the first document. This, I said, unfolding the pages, is the property deed, purchased by your father and me. Every inch of this house belongs to me, in full. Daniel's face drained of color. Claire's smile faltered. I laid down the second folder. And here, the savings account your father left in my name. Enough to maintain this house for the rest of my life. Enough to ensure I don't need a single penny from anyone. Relatives murmured. Some nodded. A few even smiled faintly, relief spreading across their faces. Finally I lifted the letter. My eyes softened as I read aloud. To my wife, if anyone ever questions your place in this home, show them this. This house is yours until the day you decide otherwise. Do not let anyone take it from you. Tantal. You are not alone. My voice wavered on the last words, but I stood firm. I folded the letter carefully, setting it on top of the documents. The room was silent. Claire's eyes darted nervously. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Daniel's lips parted as if to argue, but the proof lay before him. Undeniable, unshakable. For the first time in days, I lifted my chin and felt no weight pulling me down. I wasn't just an old woman clinging to memories. I was the rightful owner, the keeper of promises. And now everyone in that room knew it. For a long moment no one spoke. The only sound was the faint rustle of papers on the desk, the proof laid bare for all to see. Finally, Aunt Linda broke the silence. Her voice was sharp, protective. Well, what do you two have to say now? She looked straight at Daniel and Claire. Daniel's jaw tightened. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. His eyes darted to the documents, then to me. He looked like a man cornered, stripped of excuses. Claire, on the other hand, wasn't ready to surrender. She forced a laugh, though it came out shaky. Documents can be faked. Anyone could. Stop. The word came not from me, but from a voice at the back of the room. My husband's old friend, Mr. Harris, stepped forward. He was a retired lawyer, respected by everyone in the family. He picked up the deed, adjusted his glasses, and scanned the pages carefully. After a pause he looked up. His voice carried authority. These are official, registered, legally binding. This house belongs solely to her, until the day she chooses otherwise. The words hit like a hammer. Gasps spread through the relatives. Some even clapped quietly, relief and admiration flickering across their faces. Claire's face flushed red. She stammered. But this isn't fair. We deserve. I cut her off, my voice stronger than I expected. You thought you could humiliate me, strip me of my dignity, and throw me out of my own home. But today, in front of everyone, the truth stands. This house is mine. It has always been mine. Daniel looked at me then, truly looked at me. His face was pale, his hands trembling at his sides. For the first time, I saw not the son I had raised, but a man ashamed of what he had become. Relatives began murmuring again. Some shook their heads at him. Others glared at Claire. Mr. Harris set the papers back down. The matter is settled. There's nothing more to discuss. The balance of the room shifted. Where minutes ago I had been surrounded by judgment and pity, now I was shielded by respect. Family members came closer, patting my shoulder, whispering words of support. Claire's eyes burned with fury. She grabbed Daniel's arm. We're leaving, she hissed. But as they turned to go, Aunt Linda called after them. Leave, yes, and don't come back until you learn what family truly means. Their footsteps stormed down the hall, the slam of the door echoing through the house. I exhaled slowly, my body trembling, not from fear but from release. For the first time in weeks I felt whole again. Justice had spoken. After the door slammed shut behind Daniel and Claire, a heavy silence lingered in the house. But this silence wasn't the same as before. It wasn't the silence of fear or loneliness. It was the silence of peace, the calm that follows a storm once the clouds have cleared. Relatives gathered around me. Some hugged me tightly. Others whispered words of apology, ashamed they had stayed quiet when Claire mocked me earlier. I held no bitterness in my heart for them. I only felt relief. One cousin said softly, "You were braver than any of us. You reminded us that dignity isn't something you give away. It's something you protect." Their words brought a warmth back to my chest, the same warmth I thought I had lost forever. Later that evening, after everyone left, I walked slowly through the house. Each room felt different now. Not like a battlefield but like a home reborn. The walls no longer echoed with betrayal, but with strength. In the study I knelt once more by the safe. Carefully, I placed the deeds and my husband's letter back inside. Before closing it, I touched the paper one last time and whispered, "I kept your promise. No one will take this away." When the panel slid back into place, I felt lighter, as if my husband himself had placed his hand on my shoulder in approval. That night, I made myself a cup of tea and sat by the window, the same spot where I had once cried in despair. But this time I smiled. Because I knew the truth. They had tried to strip me of everything. But instead they reminded me of who I was. A woman who had built, endured, protected. A woman who refused to bow to greed. A woman who still stood strong. And as I sipped my tea, I whispered softly into the night air, not as a plea, but as a vow. This house is my heart. And it will remain mine, until the day I choose otherwise. The stars above seemed to shimmer brighter, as though they, too, were witnesses to the justice served. Thank you for watching this story. Remember, family can hurt but dignity will always protect you. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories just like this. Cherry Blossom.